Good morning, everybody, and welcome very much for joining today's webinar. My name is Tanya, and I'm one of the hosts for the next 45 minutes. Just before we kick off the webinar and I hand it over, just a few housekeeping rules. So everyone is going to be on mute, but you have got the option to send some questions through at the bottom of your screen. There'll be a tool with Q&A. Give that a click and I'll be keeping an eye on the questions, but we will be answering them towards the end of the webinar. We've also got a poll, so please take part and enjoy today's webinar on identifying online threats before they become real life incidents. So like I mentioned before, my name is Tanya West. I am one of the product managers here at In Technology. I've been working for In Technology for over 3 years now and working very close with the smoothwall product. I also have Dave Waring, who's going to be providing the demonstration this morning. He's been working for smoothwall for over 7 years now, knows the product inside and out. So we're very, very excited to be introducing something new to the smoothwall portfolio. Just a bit about In Technology distribution. So I don't know if you're aware that we are the distributor for smoothwall here in Asia Pacific. We've been working with smoothwall for about 4 years now. We've got plenty of customers within the education sector, all over Australia, New Zealand, and Asia Pacific. We are headquartered in the Gold Coast, but we do have offices in Sydney, Melbourne, Kuala Lumpur, and Manila. We've got around 33 staff. This is a picture of us at recent Tony Robbins event before we put it on there. Really enjoy working in technology, and our main focus is to source products that are really going to help customers and especially people within the education sector. Within our portfolio, we do have a few more products which can fit into the education market. So just to point out a few of them, we have Absolute, which can help track and freeze devices that may have been stolen from your organization. We also have Media Pro, which is online security awareness training, which can be pushed out to students and staff on how to be using the internet safely and correctly. And we also have other products like Malwarebytes, NetOp, and Pulse Secure. If you are interested in them, my details will be at the end of the webinar. So I'll hand it over to Dave now to introduce Smoothwall Radar. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody, and I'm very excited to be with you today. We've got some lovely things to talk about, some things which we've been looking to talk to the Australian market about for a long time. So some great things to come today. But just to kind of give you a little bit of an agenda, although we've got an hour-long session booked, I'm going to try and keep my presentation to as short and as succinct as possible. I'm sure Tanya will keep me honest and make sure that I don't go over that 45-minute kind of allocation. The idea is really to run a kind of 20-minute presentation, probably a 10-15-minute demonstration of something which we're going to announce in a little while, and then we can leave the rest of the time for questions. So that's the format of today. In the presentation, I'm going to be covering a couple of different things. First of all, I'm going to explain who Smoothwall are. We realized from the registrations of attendees this morning that not everyone will be familiar with who Smoothwall is, or certainly, are not current customers of ours. So I want to explain to you why we are probably some of the best people to be talking about this kind of subject matter in this area, and our kind of pedigree of products in the safeguarding field. And then we want to talk a little bit about what safeguarding is, what it means to me as a technologist in education. As Tanya said, although I come from a network security background, the last 10 years have really been focused on the education market for me. And it really is one of my passions to make sure that our young people are safe and can get the benefit of online learning into their education institutions. So hopefully you'll help me hear me talk about that passion. And what I'll try and do is to make sure that I curb my enthusiasm so you can understand what I'm saying. And then once we've talked about safeguarding as a wider concept, we want to look at some tools and techniques which we can use within schools and TAFE and universities and things like that to make sure that safeguarding is actually detected and can be brought to the fore of people's attention, and then real positive action can be flowing on from that. So without further ado, let's talk about who Smoothwall are. And as I usually do, this is one of my common slides, because what smoothwall does can be really distilled down into a couple of points. We're here to make the internet a safer place to be, and we've been doing that for a lot of years. We've got a lot of pedigree and history in that area, and we have a range of products which are in the web filter or indeed the firewalling arena, which allow us to offer good controls whilst allowing good duty of care and good curriculum learning. We believe that the benefits and protections that smoothwall offers should benefit the entire school community. What I mean by that, it isn't just the young people which we're looking out for here, but it's everyone who is engaged in these schools, whether it's parents, teachers, non-teaching staff, governors, trustees, guests to the school. There's a whole variety of people who are engaged in school business who can benefit from what smoothwall offers. And this is the next thing. This is the key thing of what we're going to be talking today is obviously the safeguarding. And it's really a change in focus for smoothwall. As you'll see with our product launch in a little while, is that yes, we have this great history. In fact, let's have a look at the history. We have this history of coming out of our open source roots, providing an open source firewall and an open source web filter, but going through into a kind of corporate, more defined way of offering these solutions, coming up with our innovation and stability, which is what we pride ourselves. We came up with dynamic content analysis. We're one of the few companies to come up with HTTPS SSL inspection. And what we wanted to do is introduce stability to schools while still allowing that duty of care, but good curriculum learning. So as you can see, our history and our legacy, really, of what we've been doing in the past makes us very, very much at the forefront of education technology. And that's also been kind of represented in our success in this area. We have over 10,000 education institutions who are customers of ours, hopefully very happy customers. We've got great customer retention. We are one of the most popular web filtering solutions in the English-speaking world. We are the most popular web filtering in UK education. We're up there with the big enterprise guys in the US education. We've been doing this for a lot of years, and we're very, very successful at it. But like I mentioned before, there's a little bit of a switch, a little bit of a focus change for smoothwall, which is coming along. And you'll probably see this increasingly over the next short to medium term, over the next year or two, as we make more focus on safeguarding and cybersecurity as being the next things which we need to ensure for our young people. So I've talked about safeguarding as a kind of just a buzzword, but I want to get down to what I mean by safeguarding. And safeguarding to me, although it's something which obviously I'm involved with in a digital or technological kind of context, the key thing to me is that safeguarding and well-being issues lead to real life consequences. And as we can see from the slide here, there are a variety of activities which we want to keep as minimal or hopefully eradicate from our young people's lives. Things like bullying, self-harm, radicalization, the exploitation of people. These are real things which impact our young people. And being, a parent and myself, I want to make sure that my young people are as safe as possible. And safeguarding is the kind of thing which ensures that. And just like I mentioned the school community before, there's a lot of people who are involved in that activity, whether it's teachers, whether it's parents, whether it's dedicated safeguarding and well-being individuals, chaplaincy, pastoral care, student welfare within an education institution, who are really focused on making sure that what our young people are doing is safe. Now, when we take it into a digital or virtual kind of world, there's a little bit of a kind of disconnect from what's happening in the real world. One of the things you'll hear me talk about a lot during today is what I call indicators of behavior. Now, what I mean by that is there is no usually real smoking gun when it comes to digital forensics or a kind of trail of what kind of activity people are doing online, which identifies a specific case or a specific safeguarding incident. However, what we can do is we get breadcrumbs, we get little bits of information which indicate that some kind of behavior is going on. And that's the kind of thing which we should be focusing on trying to collect, bring to the forefront of these safeguarding individuals, these safeguarding monitors and moderators, and making sure that positive real-world action can be brought. As I mentioned before, safeguarding has real-world consequences. I've got a couple of slides about statistics. I haven't gone too heavy on the statistics within this presentation. I could have done. There's a lot of research, a lot of information, either in the media or in academia, which is looking for on this area within the Australia and New Zealand region. However, it's quite shocking how much information relates to people in distress. Now, the figures which we've collected for this research and the research that I've done show that approximately 1 in 3 of our young people within Australia are suffering either high or higher, very high levels of psychological distress. That means that they are showing anxiety. They're involved with things, indicators which show that they're unhappy. There's problems there. Now, these can stem from a variety of causes. However, the psychological distress that our young people are under is obviously exemplified by their schoolwork, their peer group, and other kinds of social interactions. So we need to be aware of it. One of the most problematic forms of interaction is how young people relate to each other. And bullying is one of those kind of things which has obviously been around in schools for years, but has an added additional dimension when brought into the virtual or cyber setting. Cyberbullying is a buzzword which people are talking about, but it's actually quite intriguing to note that the majority of our schools here within country are reporting at least some form of cyberbullying happening within their institution. Over 3/4, just coming up to 3/4 of those schools are reporting in those kind of incidents. And to me, the interesting fact is the actual year group which is most at risk from this. I would have thought that, years 11 and 12, 10, 11, 12 would be the kind of people who would have access to technology and be engaging in this kind of behavior. But the research that I performed and looked at the literature within academia shows that it's actually the age group of 10 to 15. So our lower secondary school students who are experiencing this behavior most. We've talked a lot about young people, but I'd just also like to mention again about the school community and the fact that schools are not just the young people. They're a place of work, they're a place of interaction, and all sorts of people are coming forward there. And it's quite important to know that teachers and staff also have safeguarding issues, whether they're mental health issues or certain kind of possibly predatory behavior, which also needs to be monitored. What we want to do is ensure that we can extend our protections to those adult users within schools as well. So we talked about protections, but before I'm jumping the gun there, the key point I wanted to actually offer to here today was, again, cyber security or safeguarding digital well-being. These have real-world consequences, and early intervention, early detection, and positive action will lead to a reduction in real-world problems. If we can detect mental health issues, these indicators of behavior which show things like psychological distress, we're going to reduce self-harm, we're going to reduce suicide. If we can make sure that we look out for our vulnerable users, whatever that vulnerability may be, then we're going to stop bad behavior either being perpetrated towards them or by them. Bullying, drug misuse, criminal activity, all these things which we are hopefully going to be able to detect for will hopefully be reduced. So again, just to reiterate, the key thing is to detect these indicators of behavior at the earliest opportunity to prevent real-world events happening. And talking about protections, I wanted to start a poll, and this is for really my own benefit. As you can probably hear, I've done quite a lot of research in this area, particularly over the last 12 months and in the lead up to this webinar and product launch. But particularly, I wanted to find out about what protections are currently in place. And what I'm going to ask you to do is take a look at a poll which we're just going to run, which is going to ask you, do you currently use any kind of safeguarding product within your education institution? Let's start this poll now and have a quick look at the questions. So again, the question is, do you currently use a safeguarding product in your education institution? Now, there are actually 4 answers here. There's one which is an out and out, we have no kind of provision at the moment, and that's a perfectly valid answer. If that's the case, it would be interesting to know. We're not going to actually record any of this information. However, I would also like to see if you have some kind of protection in place, whether that's integrated with your firewall, whether it's endpoint based, and also do you have a formal product which logs and tracks and records safeguarding incidents? It'd be very interesting to know if you've got that as well. You can tick more than one box. So if you have UTM or endpoint provision as well as network-based provision, please tick both boxes. What I'd ask you to do is not tick any box, or either the no box and one of the yes boxes. I've got no way of actually detecting whether you've done that, so that's quite interesting. So please, we've been running this for just over a minute, and I'm just going to take a drink of water and give you probably another 20 seconds to answer, and then we'll move on. Okay, the answers are still coming in. So again, I just encourage you just to either select one or a couple of these answers. They are actually quite interesting results. Okay. Now then, we're actually using a new webinar software today, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to share the results, but I'm going to try to if I can. So I think we've done a 1 minute and a half minutes there. Your last 5 seconds. If you want to vote, vote now. And I've closed the poll. Okay. Well, I'm going to share the results. I've got a share the results button, so let's see what happens with that. Okay, hopefully the results have come up on screen. Okay, so a couple of things to look at. First of all, over 40% of people who've responded here today have no kind of provision. That's interesting. That's I wouldn't say necessarily shocking, but certainly a frank answer. It also shows that a need for these kind of tools in this area. And as we know, the SWG and web filters, so firewalls and web filtering technologies, obviously have some kind of kind of relation to this area. And the majority of people have those kind of protections already on those products, offering, I presume, network-based products. Very small percentage of people actually have any kind of solution which works on the endpoint client. That's again interesting, and we'll see why in a little moment. And we also have some people who've got some recording. Those people who've actually ticked that box, I might be ringing you up and asking you some questions. Not that I'm going to divulge anything to do with roadmap, but this is certainly a part of the area of what smoothwall is looking at, is how we look at these kind of products and how we actually manage these kind of events. Again, building on a complete safeguarding solution for our customers. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing those results and close the poll. Okay, so let's get through to what tools are currently there. And those 3 areas, network provision, endpoint provision, recording, are all very interesting today. And I wanted to first of all talk about what smoothwall's tools are currently offered in this particular area. So we have 2 long-standing products, our Secure Web Gateway SWG web filter and our Unified Threat Management UTM firewall. These are network-based products which offer a range of different things which I'm not going to go into today, but for the last 2 or 3 years, we've had safeguarding reporting built into these products, mainly interrogating our web filtering, our technology, our market-leading SWG and Guardian web filter to bring about on-premise intelligence using our dynamic content analysis, search term filtering, or all those kind of things. We've looked at a variety of rule sets which relate and given access to information about breach, linking them back to context and kind of intent. So if you don't already have that prevention, or you're looking at firewalls and web filters in the round, then Smoothwall has some products in this area which we'd encourage you to come and talk to us about. However, that's not what we're here to discuss today, as you're probably aware. I finally get to do the big product launch, which we've been looking forward to. I've not got a big fanfare or a drum roll, but I am very pleased to introduce you to what we're calling Smoothwall Radar. And we really do see this as the next generation of the tools which we can offer to our educational customers to make sure that students stay safe. So let's have a look at what Smoothwall Radar is and have a look at it in action. So what does Smoothwall Radar do? I've had to distill it down to its very fine points. And the key thing to realize is that this is now a client endpoint form of protection. It's something which we are installing on the devices in the hands of our users. So it's a little bit of software. It's doing some things in the background and then reporting information to a portal which is based in the cloud. So what are those things which it does? Well, 3 main things which it does. The first one is it has the ability to display custom acceptable usage policies at time of access. We see this as being important because in certain jurisdictions, if there is a legal requirement to inform people that are being monitored and being having their content and activity looked at by an individual. So acceptable usage provision is something which we can actually do when the person logs onto the device or starts accessing the tools which they use to access the internet. The key feature of what smoothwall radar does is it has the ability to take screen captures. It has the ability to trigger on certain keyword textual analysis that a safeguarding event might be going on and that we want to actually take some evidence about that. Let me say that again, because this is the key thing which smoothwall radar does. We are now analyzing words and phrases which are either typed into the keyboard, typed into a touchscreen keyboard, or viewed on screen. We are analyzing them using our machine learning AI engine built into smoothwall radar's endpoint client, and they're taking a screen capture, and that is then reported back up to the cloud-based portal. The last thing that it does is it has the ability to log. Now again, this is quite key to what smoothwall radar is going to be able to offer. We are taking forensic logs of all websites which are accessed from a device which is protected by our smoothwall radar tool. This means that we can take a forensic log, which can be used in disciplinary or in a legal setting if required, to actually show what activity was happening on that device. And that device follows the device no matter what kind of internet connection they are using or whether they are in school or out of school. So that means that smoothwall radar is able to provide a great form of logging of information no matter where the device is. Okay, let's go into a little bit more detail about those three functional areas before we have a quick demonstration. So, displaying of acceptable usage policies is possibly one of the least exciting product features I've ever got to announce, but like I said, it is a critical part. But what I wanted to say was, first of all, that any acceptable usage policy can be customized, and they are entirely optional. They can also be customized across user groups, user cohorts, or different kind of settings, and indeed into different devices as required as well. So we can turn them off if required, or we can make them specific to an age range, a type of user, or indeed to your education institution. The key thing I wanted to show and just re-emphasize again is this screen capturing technology. So here we have a couple of different instances. We are looking predominantly at words keyed into the keyboard, and these might indicate that a safeguarding event is either happening or just about to happen, and indeed what is being read on the screen. That might indicate that something has already happened. Now, if we actually look at what this is, distill this down to its very, very essence, what you'll find is that the screen capturing and the keyword analysis are probably the best indicators of behavior that would lead to a safeguarding incident. In the virtual world, most communication is actually provided by keyword, and it isn't necessarily just words which we're typing in, but it might be images surrounding, words surrounding images or words surrounding video and multimedia content. But it's a very good way of detecting when something's going wrong. And at that point, we're taking the screen capture. Website activity, again, we are taking a full forensic log. We actually have the ability to implement block and allow policies as well, if you wish. They're not up at the same kind of level as, say, smoothwall's Guardian implementation, but it might be that you want to whitelist or make sure that no triggers are captured on for particular websites, or indeed you might want to enforce blocks on categories and themes and words and phrases which can be happen when the device is outside of our network control. Key question here is, what devices do you support? I've talked about it being an endpoint client solution. And what I mean by that is we have the ability to actually deploy on a variety of different devices. Now, in most cases, these are devices which are managed and owned by the education institution. So smoothwall radar, although it does have some usage within BYOD environments, it's not best suited for a BYOD environment. It's usually best suited for a managed, not necessarily school-owned, but certainly school-managed fleet of devices. And as a consequence, we support the major ones which you'll find in most education institutions today. So Windows devices from Windows 7 upwards, works fine with Windows 10 and all its latest kind of iteration updates. The latest MacBooks as well. We have the ability to deploy on both laptops and desktops, so your iMacs as well as your MacBooks and MacBooks Pros. Apple portable devices, so predominantly iPads, but also iPhones as well, and Samsung and Chromebooks as well. So we've got the Google side things covered as well. So these can be deployed very, very, very easy, and usually deployed using your usual method of deployment, whether it's MSI based for Windows or whether you're using package management and indeed imaging. They can also be deployed very nicely as well. So we support the whole gamut of software which you find in education institutions. Quick note on what smoothwall doesn't do. Smoothwall Radar doesn't record all stream keystrokes. It looks at all keystrokes, but it discards the information. Now, when we actually came and started talking to people about endpoint protection for safeguarding, particularly in Australia, there were a number of concerns raised about privacy. And quite valid concerns. You know, we don't want to be recording things like passwords. We don't want to be recording things like whole histories of communication. So what we do is, as soon as we detect that keywords or key phrases have actually been used and are triggering our safeguarding themes, what we will do is we will record the screenshot, but drop the keyboard logger buffer. So we're not actually recording all keyboard strokes. And there's no facility within our product to actually do any video recording. There's no facility within our product to broadcast that information outside of the endpoint client. And there's no remote control capability neither. So no one's going to be able to get in and use it as a vector for unauthorized access. So privacy has been built into the product. We're just there to do one simple job, analyze the text and provide screenshots, and that's what we do. Okay, let's get out PowerPoint. Let's have a quick look around what Smoothwall's doing. How am I doing for time? Okay, I'm not doing too bad. Tanya's not looking too unhappy at the moment, but